powered by Riverside.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome into a brand new episode of the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Cod, this week, and of course, alongside of me, he was with me before we entered Easter. He returned, so I'm really happy to see you, Jake Bounce. What's up, Jake?
How you doing, man? We're glad to be back. Looking forward to this week.
Yeah, tons to talk about. Talladega usually always gives us a lot to talk about. Usually we talk about the big one, but the stupid storylines coming out of this week. If you're listening to us live on YouTube, obviously feel free during the episode. Chat line, Blown Engine chat line wide open. We embrace it. We embrace it this week because, Jake, I'm not going to lie. At the end of this race, I was really aggravated at what we saw. Not from the race winner, not from in live action, but once again, NASCAR dictating finishes again. And for it's stupid. And for the fans that go, oh, stupid that you guys, they got caught cheating. We're going to talk about that. But before we even get into any discussion, for all the fans that goes, NASCAR is really good at, making sure they follow their own rules. I want to ask you this question before we start tonight. What is a caution? What is a caution? Every week we have an issue with a caution.
Yeah, I mean, what the biggest thing that bothers me is when there's a caution, there's a spin out, and they throw the yellow flag, and the car has nothing to do, will not involve any other car, is on its own, and we're going to throw a caution because it didn't get going. When you're off the track, if you seriously think another car is going to hit that car and they're down when they're all the way down the field, I can't stand it because you're killing guys' momentums. Guys are going, like, I get it. You got to get the car to pit road. I get it. Don't throw a caution out for it, though. Well, I get it. It's all this safety crap and all this shit, but a caution is when there's a wreck, a wheel comes off, something comes off a car, and it's going to affect somebody else's line or where they're going. That is a caution. And people can pick me apart and tell me, oh, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. It's about I'm telling you this right now. When a car dies or wrecks on its own, mind you, if it hits the infield wall, I get it. That guy could be hurt. Mm-hmm. But when a guy spins out and he's just sitting there, why are we throwing cautions?
I know.
I can't stand it. I just you didn't see that stuff way back in the day. We if the cars can keep going around the circle, we're going to keep going.
And that's my biggest, and that's always been my biggest complaint with and obviously NASCAR continues to do this stupid nonsense. And all right, yeah, good job NASCAR. You're catching all the cheaters, quote unquote. Yeah. That these disqualifications. Listen, we went so many years without disqualification in the top 3 level series. In the next gen car, we have now gone multiple disqualifications. We'll get through it later today on this show. So again, if you're joining us live on YouTube, Blown Engine chat line wide open. I started off tonight's question: what is a caution? For everyone that's arguing with me that NASCAR follows their own rules, what is a caution? Because they can't follow their own rules with the caution. So before we talk Talladega, we have a heavy show tonight, Talladega, right? A heavy show on everything coming out of this race. Let's get into some show announcements before we kick off tonight's Talladega discussion, Jake. First and foremost, if you love what you're hearing from us here at the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast, feel free to follow us each and every single week on Facebook at the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. We host what we do every single week is we do a question of the week, and there's going to be a few I have in mind this week. Follow us on Facebook. Feel free to chime in. We love the interaction with all you fans. That's what really drives us to continue doing this show. If you love what you're hearing as well, you can feel free to follow us on Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and of course, every Wednesday night we have our live broadcast on YouTube, on our YouTube channel at the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. We weren't on last week, and I get it. We weren't on last week. We needed the break from Easter, which honestly was kind of nice. As an Eagles fan, I don't feel like I've gotten a chance to breathe with sports. So it was nice to take a week off, but I did get a chance to get back on our Facebook page, talk with all of y'all about Talladega. So 2 more show announcements. We've been hearing us advertise it, or myself advertising this for a long time. Folks, we are nearly a month away from our BWB tailgate at Pocono Raceway. It is a fun event. I had a blast last year. We're going to make it bigger and better this year. More details to come within this next month. So follow us on our Facebook page, the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast, June 22nd at Pocono. Jake, I am stoked for that event.
Can't wait. 2 years in a row, we'll be able to do this. I was there last year. It was a fun time. It's great atmosphere, great race, and looking forward to what we got. What you got in plan for this year?
Yeah, I like I said, more details to come on that, and then finally, Dover, July 20th, we'll be at the Monster Mile, doing a live episode on air. Looking forward to being back down at Dover, Jake. I used to get pissed at NASCAR because they had the Dover race. They took the playoff date away, which is understandable. I'm fine with that. But then they put the Dover single race date, the end of April, like usually this time every year, right?
Yep.
And it would always rain. And I'm like, I'm not wasting my money to
No.
go down there. I'm going to have to take PTO to go back down on a Monday. So July 20th, I made a promise to our fans. I made a promise to everybody. If they move the damn date off this April race weekend, early May, I will go back down. Well, guess what? I'm holding up the promise. So we'll both be down there.
I will be down there. Yep.
Yeah. Couple things, couple show announcements. All right. So let's take the green flag tonight on Talladega, Jake. Wild race to say the least. It's kind of weird because I'm starting to feel like this super speedway, these cars on super speedway has now become more of a fuel mileage saving race, which to me in years past I never ever thought we would ever get. But running 3/4 of on the throttle, saving fuel, it's become a different kind of. Super speedway racing has almost been like a different character ever since this next gen car. I still think super speedway racing to me is the most exhilarating. I think that a lot of people within that don't watch NASCAR on a full-time basis. I still recommend that the first race you watch on television is super speedway because there's just so much action going on within the field. Because whether they're fuel mileage saving, if they're whatever they're doing, you still have the pack. You still have the drafts, you still have the bumps, you still have the runs. And this past weekend, and I'm going to ask the audience as well, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Jake. This past weekend, I know one of the notes and one of the texts I sent over to you, I said, we are very lucky we did not see the end of both stages in a massive pileup. Go ahead.
I mean, from what I took from the race and what I was really kind of watching while it was going on, and it honestly didn't surprise me that we almost saw a wreck like that, considering you saw guys who kind of floated back. And as everybody knows now, I'm a Larson fan. He floated in the back. And at the end, he made a push. And I think a lot of guys made a push at the end to be like, I'm saving. I'm going to make this push and try to get stage points. And guys started cutting down, going in front of guys. Guys are getting flushed out. Mm-hmm. Boom. And like you said, we almost had the wreck after stage one. You don't see the wreck until the end of that race. Yep. And when you text me that, when I'm watching the TV and I'm like, don't do it now. Don't do it now. I think guys got really comfortable back there. They were floating back and forth from lines, seeing what they liked, and boom, there was a push. And it always was that upper line. And I mean, I liked it, but I would have not liked it if there was a wreck.
I agree.
More than half the fuel would have been gone.
Totally agree with that. And obviously the biggest culprit in my mind at the end of stage one, and every time we go to super speedway races, he's always a threat. And that's why I love him, because there's so many outliers at super speedways. I think that's what makes it so entertaining and so exciting. At Daytona and Talladega, and now maybe a little New Atlanta. More the surface is a little off on that, but Talladega and Daytona, you always get the outliers, right? And one of the biggest threats on a super speedway race in the Cup Series is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And anytime for me, when I see Ricky come into the picture, listen, he's won 2 of these bad boys. Or actually, all 4 of his career wins have been at Daytona and Talladega. Yep. He knows how to get around a super speedway track. He's an incredible talent. And it's almost a skill set, really, to be a super speedway ace like that. But there are times when I see that 47 come in the picture, I'm like, oh, for dear God, Here we go. because a lot of, and I do feel that a lot of the drivers within the field, when they see Ricky come up into the pack, they do not want to draft with him. So he
No.
always gets these outlier drafting partners. I think the one year I'm drawing a blank on who it was, but he had a complete outlier. And even like a lot of the crews and the spotters and basically when they saw the 47 up there, they're like, stay away, because those two are going to bail on each other as quick as possible.
Yep.
So Ricky was definitely the biggest culprit at the end of stage one. But like you said, we almost had the big one. And yes, would I have been angry that we got the big one at the end of stage one? Absolutely. Because I'm like, I want to see all the drivers in this field. And a lot of them had great impacts. We're going to go over to scorecard in a minute, Jake. I want to have all my drivers in this field have a legit shot with 10 to go. That's what I want. And the super speedway race. You know what? You want a fuel mileage save. You want to go, 495 miles of, basically keeping yourself clean. Like with Jake, we saw it this past week. Kyle Larson was in the back of the pack. Chase Elliott was in the back of the pack for a little bit. Denny Hamlin got back of the pack. A lot of these drivers bailed. They did. And in stage one, rightfully so. But like I said, there was a lot of drivers in my mind that I was impressed with, and I thought that they did well. A big guy or a big name this past week, never really see him in the pack, never really see him do much. Cody Ware was very noticeable this week, very noticeable, and I got to give credit to him. I shit on him as much as I can because I don't think that he's a good driver. But this past week, he must listen to the Broken Wolverine podcast, and he must have been like, you know what, screw this guy. I'm going to show him that I'm better than what this guy gives me. So shout out to Cody Ware on that one. But let's get into the scorecard for the Jack Links 500. Let's see what happened. Your race winner this week was Austin Cindric. We'll get into Cindric in a minute. Big win, though. Massive win for that 2-team. Finishing second was Ryan Preece. Third was Kyle Larson. Fourth was William Byron. Fifth was Joey Logano. Sixth was Noah Gragson. Seventh was Chase Elliott. Eighth was Carson Hocevar. Ninth was Alex Bowman. And 10th was Bubba Wallace. Now, obviously, I said some names that we're going to get into with some disqualifications. So the top 10 that I just mentioned definitely changed. Stage one, your winner this past week, Kyle Larson. We'll get to him in a minute, or we'll get to him later in this segment in the show. Very impressed with the 5-car. Second place in stage one was William Byron. Finishing third was Ricky Stenhouse Jr., which we just talked about. Chase Elliott finished fourth in stage one. Bubba Wallace finished fifth in stage one. Denny Hamlin finished sixth, followed by AJ Allmendinger, Cody Ware, Riley Herbst, and Noah Gragson. That was your top 10 in stage one. Stage two, Bubba Wallace picked up the stage win, followed up by Joey Logano, Kyle Larson, Austin Cindric, Carson Hocevar, Ryan Preece, Tyler Reddick, Todd Gilliland, Zane Smith, who ended up winning the pole for this bad boy, and Josh Berry. So that was your top 10 in stage two. Now, breakdown. Bear with us. There's a lot of leaders. Actually, I don't even know if I want to give the leaders this week and how many laps were led because, quite frankly, the whole entire I'm not reading this whole entire list. Let's just say there was a lot of leaders. Your highest, the one driver who led the most laps in this race was actually Ty Gibbs. Led twice in this race for 32 laps. That kind of came as a surprise. In the final stage, he definitely had that momentum. He got into the lead. He had that momentum. He had all the Toyotas with him, which was incredible. But the problem was they all did that pit stop, that final synchronized pit stop, which I feel like Toyota was the only manufacturer that was synchronized this weekend. And obviously, Chastain blew that line. We'll talk about that as well. And the Toyotas basically went back. But Ty Gibbs, he led the most amount of laps in this race with 32. Second on the laps led this week was Joey Logano, led for 6 times in 24 laps. So those are your final stats coming out of the Jack Links 500 from Talladega. Let's kick things off. Austin Cindric. What do you think this weekend, Jake, with him?
I think everybody knows I'm not a Ford guy, but I think he raced a phenomenal race. I know a lot of people were probably thinking when after he had backed off and then Logano got quote unquote, he'll call it screwed. And then you bash your own teammate on national television. It just blows my mind. And I'm so happy that Cindric won that race because of that. You'll never hear me say that again. But happy that the guy won that after your teammate who people watch, they are very close. They talk strategy to one another on pit road before a race. After a race, they talk. They got a good relationship. When I heard that, Matt, I was so sickened to the fact that just shows me, and Logano fans out there, I apologize. The guy's a selfish prick.
Yeah.
He only cares about himself. He only wins for himself. But the guy should be on his own team by himself. You can't do that. Like, if the dude didn't back off, you were going into the wall, dude. You were done.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you didn't win the stage. Okay, I get it. I'll be upset all you want, but the guy had a full head of steam and he backed off, or he would have put you into the wall.
Yeah.
And you go on and I can go on for days about Logano, but this is about Cindric. This is about Cindric. Cindric, great win. Happy for the guy. Young racer getting better. I love it for the sport. He raced an incredible race. He was up front almost the whole race. He was very strategic, and it was an all-around great win for him.
Yeah. Yeah, third career win for Austin Cindric. As you mentioned, Joey Logano, right? At the end of stage 2, for everyone watching the race, Joey Logano blamed Austin Cindric and ended up waving to him in the middle of the race because he was pissed about not winning this stage. Man.
Give him the good old thumbs up.
Yep, you're 100% right. We could do a whole segment of Joey Logano being a prick moments in NASCAR history. There's a ton of them. But
could be a whole podcast series on it.
Jumping off the Cindric topic for a second, right? Yeah, there could be a whole podcast episode. Maybe the next bye week we'll do that. Going off the Cindric topic for a second, you brought up a good point. Joey Logano being a prick of a teammate once again. So for all the fans that were out there, again, you're watching a race. At the end of stage 2, he does this nonsense. He starts throwing the temper tantrum. He doesn't win the stage. There was a lot of explicits that were on that on air that I definitely do not want to discuss. But the Logano situation actually was so interesting that Atlanta Braves Hall of Famer Chipper Jones, who's watching the race, legitimately tweeted about the whole situation.
Loved it.
Incredible. I mean, Logano goes, way to go. What a stupid, I think you guys can fill in some of these blanks. God, he just gave it to him, gave a Toyota a stage win. Way to go. That dumb blank, put that in his freaking notes and text it to us. So that's Logano's statement after the end of stage 2. I'm trying to pull up what Chipper Jones said. I'm having a hard time finding it right. Okay, here we go. Chipper Jones, he ended up tweeting out after the end of the race. Congrats to Austin Cindric on his Talladega win. Good teammates are hard to come by, boss. Remember that one of yours MF'd you on national television when in all actuality, you did everything possible to keep from wrecking him. Hate to be deuces in the team meeting on Monday. Some people, give me a second, it's pulling up. All right. There we go. Some people are hoorah for our team as long as I'm the star, as every team has them. Hendrick, RCR, Joe Gibbs Racing, Penske, etc. Sometimes karma is glorious. Enjoy this one. In case anyone's confused, let me be clear, ... at Joey Logano. So Chipper Jones calls out Joey Logano, which is incredible. Joey did have a statement. He goes, I don't think Chipper Jones has ever driven a race car at Talladega. So, again, the whole woe is me nonsense. But going back to it, right? I mean, yeah, kind of like you said, with Cindric, there was nothing he could have done in that situation in my mind, except for what are you going to do? Wreck the whole entire field? Why would you do that? So, but really, in actuality, fantastic win going back to Cindric. Fantastic win for Austin Cindric. Third career win. He's got 2 restrictor plate track wins. Daytona, Talladega. First ever win was the 500. And then he won at Gateway last year. Last year, going into Gateway, it was on an 85 race winless streak. Ends up snapping that. Now, just sometimes as an athlete, you just need confidence. You need confidence. And maybe that win for Cindric, and I'm not saying Cindric's going to be a superstar, champion, Hall of Famer, but sometimes just gaining that confidence puts you behind the wheel, and it's like, oh, okay, I can do this. Like, it wasn't a fluke. I can do this. And Cindric had a really good playoff run last year in my mind. Really good. He had that first round that was sensational. He ended up making it into the round of 12. So it was a really feel good win for Austin Cindric and Team Penske, who, in my mind, between Blaney and Logano, he's always forgotten about. So,
I mean, I personally this year, a lot of times I've seen. I mean, Cindric's been up front in a lot of races. I mean, I'm not saying that he finished up front, but and I personally, and I think people need to understand this. A lot of the time, when you see the 22 up front, that 2 car is right there with him.
yeah.
That 2 car and that 22 car ride around tracks together. I mean, it's not every lap of every race, but a lot of times when you see them together, they're up front. And I think Logano needs to take a step back and be like, I got a pretty damn good teammate here.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Austin Cindric's going to go out there and win 7 races a year. I mean, I think he's getting to the point that he can win a handful, maybe. I mean, he's showing his dominance on super speedways.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
He can win the races.
So with Cindric, yeah, like going back to your point with Cindric, though, I mean, he got the win at Talladega. He finished 8th at Daytona, so he collected a top five there, and then he finished 6th at Vegas, which he's really sneakily good at.
Yes.
But Penske in general is really good at the 1.5 Vegas track. Now you brought up an interesting point in regards to super speedway. Yeah, you are right. We're starting to see the 2 up there all the time on these super speedway tracks. Whether it's Daytona, whether it's Talladega, whether it's New Atlanta, you constantly see the 2 car in Austin Cindric. My question to you is, where do you rank him now as a super speedway ace?
I don't want to kill the guy's glory after a phenomenal win. Now, I'm not going to tell you he's the worst super speedway racer ever, because he's not. I personally, I would throw him in the top 10, if not at 10, thinking that obviously you've seen him progress over the years at super speedways and he's winning them. Yeah. So if there's a super speedway race that comes on any year, I'm not counting Cindric out.
Yeah, totally.
I think I can fairly put him at that 9-10 with the drivers right now. But in next year, Matt, I could change it. I could be like, this guy wins Talladega or Daytona again. I could probably jump into the top 5 because he's always there. I mean, it's
yeah.
I personally think if he gets better at these short tracks and these, like, he's good at 1.5-mile tracks, but he gets good at these mile tracks, like in these shorter tracks, he could be a force to reckon with, and he's young.
Yeah, no, and for real. I mean, so going back to what you're saying, between like probably in the top 10 as a super speedway ace, our numbers that we ran here at the Broken Wheel Bearing podcast with his average finish on restrictor plate races in the next gen car kind of match what your statement just said, right? Daytona, his average finish at Daytona is a 16 flat in this next gen car with 1 win. You got the 500 back in 2022, 2 top 5s and 3 top 10s, right? He ranks 5th in average finish at Daytona in the last 7 races behind full-time starters, behind Alex Bowman, which was a very big surprise, Bubba Wallace, Chris Buescher, and Kyle Busch. So he's ranks 5th among full-time drivers at Daytona in average finish in the next-gen car. In regards to Atlanta, we go down there. He ranks 7th in average finish among full-time drivers. His average finish at Atlanta in the next-gen car, 14.3. with 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, and he's also led 193 laps in those 7 races. So going back to your statement with he's always in the front, no, you are 100% right. In these restrictor plate races, he is in the front. His ranking at 7th at New Atlanta is only behind Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, Daniel Suarez, Ross Chastain, and Kyle Busch and Joey Logano as full-time drivers. Finally, Talladega captured a big first win, right? The whole race, we're all hearing Ford leads all these laps. They lead, but they can never capitalize at Talladega. They finally did it. I feel like they kind of talked that into existence, Boyer and Harvick. Talladega finally captures his first win at Talladega. In the next-gen car, he has a 16.7 win or average finish with 1 win, 2 top 5s, and 3 top 10s. He's led 67 laps in those 7 races. And Talladega is tricky because, as I just said on the scorecard, I won't even read the scorecard because it just continues flip-flopping on how many drivers. So 67 laps is more of a high percentile laps led in that 7-race stretch. Where does he rank among full-time drivers in the 7 races at Talladega with an average finish? 11th. So, like you said, top 10 Completely agree with you. I would say probably, like you were saying, lower top 10. Yeah, our data proves our point that he is a top 10 driver at restrictor plate or at Talladega or any restrictor plate race. So, congratulations to Austin Cindric. That was good.
Great win.
And I know a lot of people sat there, and I will say this: I know a lot of people sat there and were like, "There." It's weird too. One thing I will say of note before we get into the next topic, Jake. Every week I post up from NBC Sport or NBC NASCAR or Fox NASCAR. Like they always do that picture of like the congratulations to the driver. I always post it up. I always post it just to share it as quick as possible. So anyone that's out and about that didn't watch the race, they know who won the race. It's very weird how many people do not like Cindric. It's very weird. And I get it. His dad is a Penske exec. And it's just, can we like kind of get out of that stigma?
I don't know how you can not like the guy. I mean, what is he gonna do? I mean, he's not a guy. He's not a Joey Logano. I'll tell you that. So, I don't hate him. I mean, I hate that he drives a vehicle that circles their own mistakes, but I don't dislike him as a guy.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I feel like, again, we're going off the road a little bit. That's fine, but I feel like our fan base at times does this pick and choose, and they do this heroism of, well, you didn't really do it the right way nonsense, right? You didn't do it the right way. Daddy's money got you in it, right? Like we hear about it with Ty Gibbs all the time. But grandpa got you in it. Okay, well, I'm sure that Ty Gibbs would give up his racing career if his dad came back to life. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, I mean, Chase Elliott. Oh, he's only a popular driver because it's Bill Elliott's son. He didn't really do it the right. Sometimes in life, you need the upper hand. And if you have the upper hand, look, all these kids, and I'll say this, Jake, too. All these kids, Cindric and Chase Elliott and Ty Gibbs, all these kids could. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is a prime example. All these kids could have legitimately said, "You know what? Screw that. I don't want to race. I want to race. Why would I want to race? I see it all the time. My dad. I'm not going to live up to my dad, but they chose to go down that path. But instead, like Cindric, we're booing him. Why? Why? Because
the guy's proven it. He's. I don't care if he's won one race. He's won 3 races. You know how hard it is. Do people understand how hard it is to win in this sport?
Yeah.
Like the numbers speak for itself. I mean, okay, a win's a win, but look at it. It's like you're just saying about his stats on how he's finished and stuff. Look, like it ain't easy to finish in the top 10.
Not at all. Not at all.
And it's like, okay, yeah, awesome. Like, I'm a huge Dale Earnhardt fan. Oh, he got in there because he proved itself. He how many races did the guy win? 29?
26.
Like, yeah, 26? Like, you just don't get handed a car and be like, oh, we're going to hand you a race too. It don't work that. I mean, people who say that are nonsense, man. I block that stuff out. I can't stand that crap.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like I said, I mean, everyone's got their own opinion, but it's like, okay, but like I honestly, and like this is where I'll say this with these drivers, I think I respect them personally more for going into their parents' footsteps or having an opportunity, right? Like they could have been like, screw this, I don't want to do this anymore. But like, you don't know, maybe as a child that was their connection to their parent or their father or mother or whatever it is, and that maybe they're like, sure, I'm doing this because it was my connection to them. And it's like, instead we're beating the horse. And it's like, okay, Gary from South Carolina who's sitting on the couch eating potato chips. Yeah, I'm sure you know what? I'm sure you know talent very well on NASCAR prospects because you know what? You're right. Their dad's name was very high reputation, right? So stupid.
I think it's the dumbest comment someone could make.
I totally agree with that. I completely agree with that. But anyways, speaking of dumb things that happened this weekend at Talladega, we had 2 disqualifications. These disqualifications, and like I said, if you're listening to us live on YouTube, feel free to chime in on our chat. Took a lot of heat, like I said, Jake, on the Facebook page. for all the folks that told me that it's not every week that NASCAR's handing disqualifications, you are right. It's not every week. But over the last 6 weeks, we just had 4 drivers get disqualified from a freaking race. Eric Jones in Martinsville, Jesse Love at Rockingham. This past week, we had Ryan Preece and Joey Logano. Let's talk about what they did first, and then we'll jump into our discussion. According to NASCAR.com, Preece is number 60, Preece is number 60 RFK Racing Ford took the checker flag in what was initially a career best second place, half a car length behind race winner Austin Cindric in Sunday's Jack Links 500. Officials, however, discovered unimproved shims in the rear spoiler area. Logano had driven the number 22 Ford to an apparent 5th place finish, a result that would have been his first top 5 result of the season. Officials, however, found the number 22 to be in violation of section 14.5 8.e, which covers spoiler braces that are used as superspeedway events, and section 14.1.p under general vehicle assembly, which states all fasteners must be securely fastened at all times during an event. So that's what ended up happening in regards to the suspension of Preece and the suspension or disqualification of Preece and disqualification of Logano. RFK, they came out. Okay, so backtrack a little bit. Sunday, I was pissed. I wrote something out there. I said, this is becoming complete bullshit that NASCAR's manipulating finishes again. Okay? I did not know what, and this was before I knew what both happened. So the Preece one, I'm not Team Logano here, but the Preece one I can justify and be like, all right, you made an unimproved adjustment after the pre-race inspection. RFK acknowledged it. RFK came out publicly and said, RFK Racing acknowledges and accepts NASCAR's decision to disqualify the number 60 Ford Mustang following post-race inspection at Talladega, and they will not be appealing the ruling. So RFK basically said, nope, disqualified. We're not going to try to appeal it. The infraction stemmed from an unintentional adjustment during pre-race inspection to correct a spoiler angle issue. While the change did not provide a competitive advantage, it did not meet the approved compliance method. We respect the ruling and remain committed to integrity and adherence to NASCAR standards. So RFK basically said, my bad, let's just move on. Penske came out in a statement. Team Penske said this. The number 22 Team Penske Ford Mustang was disqualified following post-race inspection at Talladega today. One of the 18 bolts on the surface of the spoiler that connect to the base was found to be loose, and NASCAR penalized the team as a result. This was non-intentional and happened throughout the course of the race event. Team Penske accepts the disqualification, so it looks like Penske's not going to appeal the disqualification. But Jake, this is really... And for all the fans that sit there and tell me, oh, this is cheating and all that type of stuff. Okay, Preece, I will give you. The Preece one was, okay, that could have changed the aerodynamics on the spoiler. But for God's sakes, the Logano one, you're going to penalize him for a freaking loose bolt? This is ridiculous. This is getting out of control. Every single week we see a new issue and a dictation of what happens in the final results. Every week it feels like. I mean, and again, it's not every week, but it's been 4 times in the past 6. It's 4 times in the past 6.
Not every week. It's been too much.
Too much.
And yep. I will battle anybody in the comments about this. I have been a mechanic my entire life, and I can tell you nuts and bolts. Strip that entire car down. The entire car down. You find more than one loose bolt. No. I don't care who you are. If you put these things together, I will argue with you every single time. I work on heavy duty trucks. I know it. Those cars are going at 190 mile an hour, full flown out, vibration, shit comes loose. I get it. It's the rule. It's the rule. But one bolt out of 18. So mind you, there's 17 other bolts holding that thing down. You're going to penalize a guy for it? Mm-hmm. That's ridiculous. The Preece thing, I can't so much back him because you made an adjustment after the fact that was illegal towards NASCAR. They owned up to it. They ate it. It's over with. That, I will give the cheating people their props. Cool, cheating. If you consider adjusting a spoiler cheating. But the whole thing about the whole, like, I just want to kill these critics with cheating. The only way you're going to cheat is modifying an engine to a greater spec than what it's legally supposed to be at. Besides that, the guy behind that wheel, I don't give a crap what the spoiler is, where it's set at. It ain't going to help the guy win. So the whole cheating because of a whole spoiler thing, those people in the comments can go.
Yeah.
I respect your point. I read it. I get it. But that's not cheating. I'm eating my own words, but it is considered cheating because you adjusted your car illegally. Okay, it's cheating. Logano should never have been disqualified. Can't stand the guy, should never have been disqualified.
Yeah, and
I'm a mechanic for a living. You look at every nut and bolt in that car. I guarantee you find more than one.
Yeah. And you brought up a good point too. Like in the middle of the race, like a loose nut and a loose bolt on the spoiler, they're beating and banging each other at 195 miles an hour in the draft. Things are gonna get loose. And as you said, there's things that I will accept, right? If you're going to change the aerodynamics, I kind of disagree with the spoiler. Like, you still have, it's still measured at a height. It's still a NASCAR provided sourced part. Last year, when I had Vince on here, he said it. He's like, NASCAR provides these teams the parts. Yep. They're measured, they're weighed. So at this point, all the fans and all the people are like, well, all these fans are crying about this. It's cheating and all that type of stuff. Well, it's kind of hypocritical when the so-called association, who's a single supply provider, is providing you these parts, are giving you parts that don't fit or work or do not weigh correctly. And then these teams are getting penalized. Like, listen, Jake, I did some deep dive research. Since this next-gen car, we've had 8 drivers in the Cup Series alone get disqualified in 4 years. 8 in the next-gen car. That's ridiculous. We didn't even have that many in the last decade plus of NASCAR, but then we had 8 in the next-gen car. Let's talk about them for a second. 2022, go ahead.
You know my feeling. I hate these cars. I hate them. I hate them. There ain't nobody on this world that's going to convince me to like them. I don't like them. I never will. I don't. You can't do this. We're going to change this car and come with all these rules, and you're going to make the rules, but you're, like you just said, you're supplying me the parts. But you're going to make these rules and you're going to penalize me on it.
Yeah.
Like they do the whole weight thing. They weigh the cars. So let's put a point in people's heads. Brad Keselowski, say he went back out on the track. Somehow, some way came around and won. Well, he's missing a whole left fender. Is that cheating?
That's weight. Is
that cheating? There. Are you going to disqualify the guy because he was in a wreck? Well, you said the car was safe enough to go back out on the road, on the track?
Yeah. So
it's NASCAR beating and banging their own selves. They're making rules, and then they come out with these 14.57689 rule here on page 3000. I mean, I just think NASCAR in a whole, like, I love NASCAR. I'll never stop loving NASCAR. I just think NASCAR as a whole needs to take a step back and really, really think about what's a penalty. Since everybody loves the word, what's cheating?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But and hopefully, like what about the races when guys' tires come off? Okay, yeah, you get a 1-lap penalty. Awesome. But why are they not disqualified?
Mm-hmm.
You can go down a whole rabbit hole with this whole. I think NASCAR needs to either A, clarify the rules, or B, stop being so strict. We're racing cars going over 150 miles an hour for 3.5, 4 hours. NASCAR's just got to do better.
Yeah,
that's how I think it. NASCAR's got to do better.
No, I totally agree with you. I completely agree with you on everything that you said about this because, like you said, I mean, you're beating and banging at a high speed at a high rate. And like you said, going back to the car, and I think our good friend Mark Schisler from Racing Paradise, he said it best. He goes, all the fans really want in life is just more horsepower, more tire wear. That's all.
Yeah.
And instead, we get this safety car. And quite frankly, it's not really even that safe because we've had how many concussions, right? And in all seriousness, we also great driver due to a concussion because of this new safety car. Going back to the disqualifications in the next gen car for all my fans and friends that are going, oh, it's cheating, it's cheating, it's cheating. Let's talk about all these disqualifications for a second. Okay. There's some I'll give you. There's some I won't give you. The first disqualification in this next-gen car came actually two drivers. Denny Hamlin won the race at Pocono in 2022. Kyle Busch ended up finishing second. Both drivers were found with extra tape over each corner of the front fascia of the cars. Okay, I'll give you that. Maybe you're affecting the aerodynamic and the flow of the vehicle.
Well, the thing is, you clarify me here. You know this better than I will. I can't go back that far. Were they involved in a wreck?
No. I actually, honestly, I can't remember. I can't remember if both of them were. I don't think so.
Were they damaged from bumping?
I don't believe so, but they could have been. I mean, it was Pocono. I mean, unfortunately, I was at the race, so I don't remember that one.
I'm just saying, like, if you're bumping, like,
yeah,
what do you like? And I'm not saying that this didn't happen, but you go to the bumping, like, okay, so what happens when that front bumper's like hanging on by a thread? What do you want me to do? Just when it falls off, it falls off.
Yeah.
Oh, caution out. Caution out.
There's your caution. There's the question going back. What is your
caution?
Yep. What's a caution? So that was Hamlin and Kyle Busch. What happened at Pocono? Okay, 2022, we had another disqualification of a race. Brad Keselowski at Martinsville in the fall, the Xfinity 500. This one, Jake, you'll love this because you were just talking about it. He did not meet the minimum weight requirement in post-race technical inspections. So Brad ended up he finished fourth in that race, got disqualified, lost all the points for that.
So you pass inspection to make it into the race on weight, but after the race, you didn't. Everybody on national television, everybody watching that race, everybody that is there sees that car come into pit road and it's back off. You go into the garage, obviously people are watching you. So what, are they like taking sawzalls on when they're changing tires and cutting shit off? Like, that's...
Yeah, so that was Brad back in 2020.
How do you pass pre-race inspection then?
I don't know. And then that was another thing too. There was plenty of people going, oh, the pre-race and post-race are completely different inspections. Completely agree with you on that. But how, like you said, there is millions of cameras on that on the TV at all time on that track. How are you telling me that they are that they're losing weight on a vehicle? Again, going back to my point with NASCAR supplying the parts. They're a single source supplier. How in the world is Brad all of a sudden underweight? He's not the only one that this is gonna come up on. Let's go to 2023. Kevin Harvick got disqualified in the fall playoff race at Talladega. Kevin Harvick got disqualified because the windshield fasteners must remain secure for the entire event. There it goes back to the point. You're beating and banging at 195 miles an hour. What happens if something gets loose? Now, I totally don't disagree. Like, I don't disagree. Like, it's a safety issue. Oh, yeah. But they're not sitting. I mean, come on. You're going to penalize them and disqualify them because their windshield wasn't fastened. You think in any chance in hell, Rodney Childers was going to be like, you know what, Kevin, to win this race, let's open up the airflow in your vehicle and we're going to loosen the windshield. That is the most dangerous idiocracy I could ever think of. And then you disqualify him. 2024, Alex Bowman at the Roval. Again, here's another one, fan favorite. Not meeting the minimum weight requirement during post-race inspection. And this one actually affected the playoffs. Because he got disqualified. Guess who ended up finishing the race higher than him, got enough points, and ended up winning the championship last year? Joey Logano. So that was Bowman in 2024. 2025. Now let's go through these stew real quick. 2025, we had Parker Kligerman. I know it's not Cup. Parker Kligerman at Daytona. The truck did not pass post-race inspection when competition officials found that it failed to meet ride height requirements, measuring too low in the rear. So maybe it was an over wedge. I mean, that would have been caught on pre-race. That would have been caught if it was that significant.
The only thing that I can think of, something broke.
Maybe, and that's correct.
Is someone crawling under that car adjusting the height? It ain't like it's a 9-second pit stop. Oh, we're going to adjust the height on this car in 9 seconds. Bullshit. You're going to find the world that can do that.
Not at a suspension level where they can get disqualified. So keeping up with 2024, 2025. Eric Jones, a couple weeks ago. I don't think a lot of our fans and a lot of people even know that this happened. Eric Jones was disqualified at Martinsville. Eric Jones wasn't even a leading car to race win. He failed post-race inspection for not meeting the minimum weight requirement again. So there we go. And then finally, last weekend, Easter weekend, Jesse Love at Rockingham. Same thing. Height adjustment issues for Jesse Love, disqualified after winning the race. So I personally believe, and this was my whole argument and discussion with people on Facebook. I understand that you all think it's cheating. Oh, NASCAR follows by the rule. That was my favorite comment. Someone, I can't remember who it was. I actually don't even want to call him out on this podcast. But someone literally goes to me, unlike other sports, NASCAR follows their own rules. I was like, okay. Yeah, that meets the question. What's a caution then? What's a caution?
They do not follow their own rules.
No, they don't. And
I'll argue with that person. Like I said before, they do not follow their own rules. Because how do you pass a pre? Don't tell me the pre and post are different. Because it's the same thing. They're expecting the same thing. You go onto a scale. You come off a scale. They check every bolt and every nut. They check Matt. I don't know if to be honest with you, I don't know if this is a whole NASCAR's trying to be like. I don't think they're out there to be like, oh, we got you.
No, I don't think so.
It's like, dude, come on. Like, if you seriously think a windshield fastener is going to cause a travesty on a racetrack, you're crazy.
Yeah.
The sport's been around for how many years?
Yep. I know. It's and like I said, it's starting to get ridiculous, and it seems like that we've been getting more and more disqualifications in this next gen car. Now, granted, we did have 2 disqualifications in 2020. Jimmy Johnson got disqualified after the Coke 600. I can't remember what that was for, but I wasn't really looking that far deep. I wanted the next gen car stats. Yeah. And Chase Elliott was disqualified at Nashville Super Speedway in 2021. That one was a loose lug nut on one of the wheels. So. It's starting to get ridiculous, and honestly, you're manipulating. Like, I don't want to sit there and say it's like, well, they got caught. Rules are rules. Okay, I'll give you that. But do you think? And I love NASCAR more than anybody. I don't think it's dead. I think it's on a rise. I love it, and this is why I do the podcast, and this is why I love talking about it, because I think it's one of the best sports in America. It is, hands down. The problem is that no, I'm not whining as a fan, but it's like, let me ask you a question: is this the NASCAR you really want?
No.
Do you really like watching? Oh, here we go. There's the final order. Oh, let's go on Twitter. Because every single week now, I go on Twitter at the end of the race, 2 hours after the race is over. And you know why, Jake? It's not because I wanted to watch the highlights from the race. I want to see who got disqualified, because that's what I'm programmed to do now. So is this the NASCAR that you want? That you have to go follow up on the disqualifications? Again, it's not dead. It's a beautiful sport. It's incredible. It's not dying. I'm just upset with the disqualification. That's all.
The biggest thing is, and this is a question to the fans that are commenting. I just want them to let this sink in. If this was your favorite driver that won a race and was disqualified, are you going to call it cheating? Are you going to call a fuss about it? Oh, he passed weight inspection on pre-race. But how do you not those are the people who are going to be like, dude, I've had it with Larson. I'm like, what? But then I can't be a hypocrite and not say the same thing about the guy who won that I'm not rooting for, because I feel for them. Think about it. If it's your driver who wins a race, and we would put it in bigger perspective, making a driver who wins a race that has to win to get in, and they get disqualified. They'll be the first people on Twitter. They'll be the first people commenting on your podcast. Oh, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, now it is.
Well, and if you look at it, like I said to you last year, look at Alex Bowman. What was the biggest thing that and before we jump on to the next topic, I wanted to bring this up. What was the biggest thing from fans last year in 2024 that they complained about? Joey Logano was not a real champion. Joey Logano was not a real champion. He was the worst champion that we've ever had in our entire life. Okay, well, guess what? How did Joey Logano make it to the round of 8? Oh, that's right. Alex Bowman got disqualified. So now let me ask you a question. For all the fans that are all for NASCAR going, oh, but they're really good with keeping up with their rules and they're catching cheating. Let me ask you a question. Did you bitch and complain that Joey Logano won the championship last year? Did you? Because I guarantee you, 75% of those people that are telling me that, rules are rules and, yeah. I guarantee you 75% of them were complaining that Joey Logano was the worst champion ever.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
You can call I don't like the guy. He won the last race of the year.
Yep.
He finished. He beat all the other 3 guys out, and he won.
Yeah.
It's over with. It's done. The guy won. Was I happy that he won? No. But congrats to Joey Logano. But exactly. What if you're an Alex Bowman fan and that happened?
And
But you hate Joey Logano.
Yeah.
You're not going to. The other day, like, oh, this is cheating. This is cheating. This is cheating. Oh, what's cheating? What are they cheating Bowman out? No, they're following the NASCAR rules because they're the best at following their own rules.
Final point from this. I had a great analogy, honestly, from again, it wasn't on our Facebook page, but it was on another Facebook page. They brought it up, and it was a really good analogy. He said that he's like NASCAR. These issues are similar to the NFL with pass interference. There's holding and pass interference on every single play. If you want to call it, you want to call it. It's just like this. NASCAR, every driver and every team is always going to have loose bolts and all that. It's just why they just make the decision and call it when they want to call it. So that was a really good analogy. And like I said, I forget who. I definitely wanted to bring that up on this show. So
I just feel like, unfortunately, it just sucks that you're that car they called him on.
Yeah, pretty much at this point.
Like you're just I'm not saying that. Let me phrase this before somebody starts saying that I'm just saying this. I'm not saying they got caught because they got caught. I get it. They're checking every car, but it's like you just said. Maybe they were that car that they grabbed that bolt and they felt it. Maybe they missed it on another car. I don't know.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. So, Jake, let's jump into our next topic. Denny Hamlin had issues with 2 drivers this past weekend. The first one's Christopher Bell. I'm going to pass the mic over to you on the Bell topic. And then the second one was an interesting move. Wasn't really Hamlin's fault, but it was honestly a race-altering move that kind of stopped Toyota from winning. Start off with the Bell stuff.
So, for people that don't know me, I basically got into NASCAR because of my dad. Every freaking weekend, me and him are bashing each other back and forth with text messages. We're having a great time, yada, yada, yada. That wreck happened. It didn't take 2 seconds for my phone to go off. And I read, Denny Hamlin needs to be fired or penalized. I can't argue. I cannot argue. I don't care. I watched that in slow motion time and time again. I rewinded the TV back to rewatch it. I'm telling you right now, that was a full-blown 100% on Denny Hamlin. You just wrecked your own car, dude. I respect Denny Hamlin as a phenomenal race car driver, but he's known to do stuff like this. And it's getting out of hand. I think it's getting ridiculous. And people can call me a pansy all they want. NASCAR is about wrecking people.
Mm-hmm.
He could have that could have been so avoidable. I'm sorry, Matt. I will stand on that. That could have been avoided, and I'm not happy about it. Because again, Christopher Bell, a guy who looks outstanding this year, racing phenomenally, gets taken out because of somebody else's arrogance. Now, people can say, "Oh no," I'm going to stand on my point. I'll listen to other people's points and I'll take it for a grain of salt. But go further down in the race, and everybody knows I watched the 5 car. He almost put the 5 car on the wall too. And when I was watching that, I'm like, he puts that 5 car on the freaking wall. I swear to God, they need to fix it. And Cliff Daniels didn't tell Larson, the only thing you're doing this race is taking him out.
Yeah.
I was so he beats and bangs. Like, I get it. Beat and bang. I love it. I love beating and banging. That's all the sport's about. Beating and banging, making your way to the front, and winning a race. He goes overboard. I think he goes too far. That's my take on it. Obviously, I don't like the guy, but I respect him.
Nah, well, I mean, the whole thing too is, I mean, unfortunately, I mean, I don't know what happened. I mean, I don't know if they got up to speed. I mean, it definitely looked like Chris Gale definitely had no clue what happened. And when Fox went right over to the camera going in the commercial, very odd sequence because the green flag drops, and I'm like, okay, well, they're going to get up to speed. It's going to take it's going to take a lap and a half to get up to speed, whatever.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, I see out of the corner of my eye, I actually went to go drink a glass of water, and I look back up the screen, I see Bell and Busher going into the wall, and I'm like, what in the world happened? They just took the green flag. Definitely interesting situation. It looks like air got underneath Bell's car, but at the same time, when you're pushing, in Hamlin's case, like you're just going to get them loose, and if there's enough air getting underneath that car, you're taking both of them out, and it's incredible. But yeah, it was a weird situation. Another weird situation, though, going back to Denny Hamlin. Let's talk about Ross Chastain and what happened there. Now, I will say this with Chastain. And I'm a Chastain guy. I think everyone knows how much I love Chastain. Let's just say this. What a stupid ass move that you pulled going, basically trying to go up the line, up into momentum. The Toyotas were flying after the pit stops. Right now, I mean, to me, we're coming in towards the end of that race, and I'm like, yeah, Toyota's got the momentum. They all pitted well, perfect strategy. Only manufacturer I felt like they were all organized and synchronized on pit stops. That was the only one that I felt like on Sunday. Chastain ends up losing the draft a little bit, ends up catching it a little bit, but then he pulls that stunt where he just gets in front of, I believe it was Ty Gibbs to start, but then like Gibbs got around him. One of them got around him, and then Hamlin basically ended up nearly missing him. But it's crazy to say this, but that was a race-winning move for somebody else. Because if Chastain does not pull that stunt, which I'm not advocating was the right move at all, if he does not do that, Toyota flies right through the field. And you're looking at probably Hamlin or Gibbs or Bubba.
Yep.
One of those drivers probably winning this race because, again, Toyota had the great strategy. They were synchronized. They were ready to go. Chastain with the ballsy move. And I heard Action Stats from Mental this week. I could not wait to listen to that. And then he said it best. It was the dumbest move ever. It
was dumb.
Unfortunately, when you're at that speed and when you're looking at the scoring pylon with the speeds, with the draft, and when they lose the draft, I mean, you're almost going maybe 13, 14 miles per an hour slower when they're in the draft. I mean, when Chase Elliott had the penalty this week, right? He goes down pit road. He had the penalty. Ends up getting back on the track. He was solo. He was running solo. I mean, he's running at 183 miles an hour around Talladega. The draft's at 195, 96 miles per an hour. I mean, you're looking at almost a 12 to 14 mile per an hour difference. So Chastain definitely, I don't blame Denny for being pissed about that. But in regards to going back to Bell, what a weird situation getting up to speed. And, it looked, like I said, it looked like the air got underneath the vehicle with Bell. But, Hamlin's pushing and pushing and pushing. But, Jake, we got someone on the chat line. Let's check in with their chat line real quick. Sorry. All right, studio chat. Sorry. All right, we got Jack checking in. He goes too far and never takes responsibility. If it happened to him, he would be crying, talking about Hamlin. So
he's not wrong. That is 110% accurate right there.
I mean, essentially going back to the Chastain situation, right? I mean, it almost did happen to him with Chastain, and look how much of chaos it ended up turning out to be. So, two weird situations coming out of Talladega. So, before we wrap up with Talladega, let's do some fast. Let's just do some fast discussions. First one up on our fast discussion this week, Jake. Ryan Blaney, he leads the series in total DNFs so far this season at 4. He's still 8th in the point standings. From NASCAR.com, he's 8th in the points, but he leads the Cup Series in DNFs with 4. That's incredible.
This weekend wasn't his fault. Wrong place, wrong time type of situation.
Totally
not his fault. Totally unavoidable. Like I said, wrong place, wrong time. And unfortunately, snap that. back axle, and his day was done.
Yeah, and like you said, wrong place, wrong time. And we talked about Toyota being all in sync on synchronized pit stops. It felt like everybody else, like Ford couldn't get synchronized. It looked like Chevrolet couldn't get synchronized. And that whole situation with Blaney getting wrapped up, it honestly, and I forget who that stemmed from. I don't know if it was Barry that it stemmed from that collected Keselowski and the Kyle Busch into Blaney.
Yes.
I think it was Barry. Yeah.
It was Barry.
But again, this comes back down to they were never synchronized. I
No.
feel like they were just trying to run full force, and then they were like, "Oh shit, we all got to pit," and then all of a sudden they went down. So, but Ryan Blaney ended up taking the actions. And listen, I don't think any of us need to worry about Ryan Blaney making the playoffs. I don't think any of us need to worry about the 12 not getting in the victory lane in the season.
He's gonna win. He's gonna win this year at one point. Yeah, I can't just say it in my mouth, but yes, he will win at some point. But I want to touch something real quick.
Go for it.
When I watched those Toyotas come out of pit road, I literally said to myself, I'm like, there's no way this race does not go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Toyota.
Yeah.
They were just on. And then I think the only other time we really saw it someone really tried to make it happen was when Hendrick pitted all together. Now, don't get me wrong. Do I think it would have been different if Elliott didn't speed and get a penalty? Maybe those four kind of linked up and gone. But that to me, that's the only other time that I really saw somebody else try it. Besides that, it was all mismatch.
Yeah.
Toyota dominated on that. I was so surprised that Toyota didn't win that race.
Well, and again, it comes back down to Chastain. I mean, it really does. And I know not to harp on that topic again, but it really does come down to Chastain. Chastain doesn't pull that stunt. I mean, they fly right through. I mean, like I said, you had Gibbs, you had Hamlin, you had Briscoe, Herbst, Riley Herbst was available. I mean, in that pack, Bubba Wallace, Tyler Reddick, they were all there. I mean, they were just all there. And I will say, going back to the synchronized pit stop before our next fast topic, the synchronized Toyota always does a really good job of synchronized pit stops. And Kevin Harvick brought this up in the booth. He said, in order to make the draft worth it and make the draft as soon as you pit and synchronize, you need about 7 cars, right?
Yes.
The one thing Toyota does very well is maybe because there's not many of them, they all pit together. They all stay together and they all go together. And it's like they just are always on point with those synchronized pit stops where usually Ford is too. Actually, all manufacturers are. This week was just like, what are you guys still drunk and hungover from Easter?
Yeah.
Like,
I really thought that when I saw Hendrick going, I really thought like RCR would win him with him.
I'm surprised he didn't.
I literally thought when I saw those cars come down, like RCR's got to come with them, and it was just the 4. I was like, I guess the only manufacturer working together today is Toyota. Everybody else is free for all.
Speaking of Chevrolet, Jake, let's talk about this driver real quick. Let's give him a massive round of applause this week. And that round of applause, folks, is to Kyle Larson, who, don't look now, but is kind of figuring out how to run on drafting tracks. Had a horrendous Atlanta race to start the playoffs last year where he wrecked. I mean, vicious wreck.
Right.
Since then, he's got a 4th at Talladega. He finished 20th in the 500, then finished 3rd at Atlanta behind Hocevar and Bell, finished 2nd at Talladega. Right now in his last 4 super speedway races, his average finish is a 7.25. So don't look now, but if that 5 car starts figuring out how to run super speedways, it could be game over for the field. It could be a game over for the field there. And then finally, give me a second. Final point coming out of Talladega before we get into our Texas picks. Brad Keselowski, man. Brad Keselowski. I think everyone that listens to me, they've been following me for years. They know how obsessed I am with RFK racing and how excited I get with Brad. But for myself, Jake, I mean, I'm tearing up right now talking about it. I just really am. I mean, I think Brad's 2025. We can officially put it in the bag, sir. Throw it out. It's over. It's over. Currently sits 32nd in the Cup Series point standings. Brad has not had one top 5 or top 10 so far this season. We are 9 weeks in the season. 9 weeks, no top 5s, no top 10s, nowhere to be found right now. He has 3 laps led if that's even correct. No, I'm sorry. He's got 3 DNFs according to NASCAR.com. Sorry, 0 laps led, nothing to show for it except for 3 DNFs. 32nd in the points. This was an organization that each year they kept getting better and better and better under his ownership. I don't know if it's Brad focused on getting Ryan Preece up to speed because maybe a retirement's coming soon. I don't know, but to watch the 6 car almost go out there like a wounded duck, it's breaking my heart, dude. It really is. I was so high on this 6 this
Mm-hmm.
year. I thought RFK adding Ryan Preece was going to be actually I thought Preece was not really the best hire, but Preece has been the best out of the 3 of them. Well, Buescher's been good, but Buescher has not been and it's weird too because my perspectives changed with Chris Buescher, right? 2021, Chris Buescher, if he's doing what he's doing now, my perspective's like, wow, this is a really good driver.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen Chris Buescher in victory lane. I've seen Chris Buescher dominate races now. I've seen Chris Buescher be Chris Buescher. So for me, it's kind of like, damn, it seems like they're off. But for Brad, it's not looking good. I know there's 3 tracks coming up that he's pretty good at historically in his career: Texas, Kansas, and of course the Coke 600. But with the way that 6 car's going, with the way that it's mentally there for Brad, I'm putting the fork in it. Brad K, 2025 is over.
I 100% agree with you. I mean, I grew up watching him. I watched him when he was first getting in, and it's like you said, it's sad to see, but unfortunately, man, I think retirement's closer than people think. And I don't want to be the first one to say it. This year I personally think this year might be the last time you see Brad K race a roller.
It's an interesting point you just brought up, and I had
this unless he wins 2 races.
Yeah, well, and that it's interesting that you just brought that up because we always see these drivers. They get into the H. Mendoza line, right? That's why I think what Hamlin's doing at this point in his career is incredible because he is 45 years old. Usually, This is when we're starting to see drivers basically that were at the highest go all the way down. But you saw it with Kevin Harvick. Like Kevin Harvick in 2021 was still a very elite driver. He almost made the round of 8 with no wins. 2022, he had the 2 wins, Michigan and Richmond. 2023, you kind of knew Kevin Harvick was done. Like he was done. He couldn't win any more races, and then that was it. Jimmy Johnson. I look at Jimmy Johnson, 2017, 3 race wins. Obviously, he had that vicious wreck up at Pocono that kind of ended up, from what people are saying and insiders are saying, that basically was what altered his career. Didn't win again for 3 years. You start seeing these drivers that were so elite at some point in their careers, and it's like they start fading out into the sunset. Ryan Newman was one of them. Yeah. Tony Stewart was one of them. Now, Stewart had other different stuff going on, but Stewart was one of them. And it's almost like, yeah, Brad's only 41 years old, so I expected a little bit more out of him at this age, and especially with his win at Darlington last year, and with RFK kind of being where they're at. They're a competitive organization. Oh, yeah. It's just – it's a shame, though, because it's like I don't know if Brad – and I agree with you. And it's interesting that you brought that up tonight. I do personally believe if Brad does not win a race this year, I think Brad's going to move into the ownership full-time. I really believe that.
You have to.
I agree. And I think that with Jack Roush's health kind of fading into the sunset, it might be time for Brad to go into that next step. So, all right, cool. Jake, that's Talladega. That's Talladega, baby.
Hey, it was a great race. It was a great weekend. Great weekend for NASCAR. Loved it.
Yeah. Couple things I was upset. Like I said, couple things I was upset about. All in all, it was a fantastic weekend. We had Austin Cindric win. Great job. I was really happy to see that. I had a lot of fun watching this race. Like I said, 2 things I was just upset about. Disqualifications. It's starting to get old real fast. And then the second thing I was upset about, which we didn't even talk about, and we're just going to brief right over it before we get to Texas picks. I'm going to say this. I thought going back to what's a caution, Connor Zilisch, Xfinity Series. I'm hoping, and honestly, all hope all as well, because he ended up getting a lower back injury from it. Kyle Larson will be in the 88 this week in the Xfinity Series. But they threw the caution flag kind of late. So it's starting to get old real fast. But final point standings, Jay, coming out of Talladega this week. Byron remains the points leader, followed by Kyle Larson. He's sitting second. Denny Hamlin sits third. Chase Elliott sits fourth. Christopher Bell sits fifth. Tyler Reddick is sixth. Bubba Wallace is seventh. Ryan Blaney's eighth. Alex Bowman's 9th, and Ross Chastain is 10th in the points right now. 11th is Joey Logano. Chase Briscoe is 12th. Chris Buescher's 13th. Austin Cindric's 14th. AJ Allmendinger, who we haven't been talking a lot about. He's been off to a great start this year. He currently sits 15th in the points. And then Kyle Busch sits 16th in the points. And if you add the winners, Kyle Busch would be out. Josh Berry would be in. So that's pretty much everything coming out of Talladega. So before we head out tonight, let's head into some Texas picks this week. So we are in the Lone Star State for the first time, only time this year. Well, not the Lone Star State, but Texas Motor Speedway. I'm going to be honest. I am so happy that this track only has one date. I could not stand when they had 2 dates. It was like, Texas. And I always preferred the spring date better. And again, going back to old school NASCAR, early 2000s, they always had the spring date. And that was it. You got that Texas once a year, and then that was it. And then they get the playoff date. And you're like, really? Like, this is the track that you want to put your playoff eggs in? So, let's get into some picks. You have some?
Everybody's gonna hit me for saying I got Larson this weekend, man. I think the guy's got the best odds. If it's not him, I'm either going Christopher Bell or William Byron.
So you took William Byron. So, yeah, you can't go wrong with the Hendrick. I mean, Byron and Larson should have won last year if he didn't have that wheel issue.
Correct.
And if Chase Elliott doesn't play Hail Mary mode, that probably alternates the course of history. But whatever. I like that pick a lot with Larson. I like that pick a lot with William Byron. Byron actually, according to driveraverages.com, has the best average finish in the last in the 3 races ran in the next gen car on this track. He's got the best average finish with a 3.7 average finish. Byron's been really good here.
Yeah.
I'm going to give a pick. I'm going to give one this week, and I feel pretty good about this one. I'm going Bubba Wallace. This week. This is a really, really good track for him. Since they started racing in the next gen car, he ranked 7th among active drivers in average finish, according to driveraverages.com. He's got an 11.7 average finish. He has 1 top 5, 2 top 10s. He's led 116 laps here. He won the pole back in 2023. He's on an 88 race winless streak. And I feel like, with Tyler Reddick being in that stable, Bubba's had a really good start to the season. He has. And a lot of momentum's going his way. He's winning stages. It's a lot of confidence. Give me Bubba Wallace this week. I
like that pick.
I think it'd be a fun pick this week to have Bubba Wallace and Victory Lane. I mean, like I said, you chose 2 heavy favorites. So, and I'll give you one more. Since you gave 2, I'll give 2. I'm actually going to go both 23XI drivers. I'm going Bubba Wallace and then give me Tyler Reddick as the second driver.
I really thought the reason why I picked Larson, I think you're going to see a Larson Reddick battle. That's why I picked Larson. I personally think and I hate to say it because it's my driver, but I just have a feeling he's going to win this race.
Yeah, I have a feeling that he does too. But I mean, like I said, you go with the 2 Hendrick drivers. I'm going to go with the 2 23XI drivers of Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick this week. I think that'd be a fun week. It'd be a fun matchup.
I think it'd be a phenomenal race.
You know what? Everyone shit on it last year, and I
like Texas. Texas.
I'm starting to like it. You know what? You know what it is? It's the track is worn out now.
Yep.
The track is completely worn out, so they slip and slide all over the place. I kind of like it because, listen, let's call it as is. I mean, Charlotte is their baby, so they pedicure that track like nothing.
Yeah.
So, like, Charlotte, Atlanta, and Texas were all built the same. 1.5 dog leg, 1.5 mile tracks. And with Atlanta now as a super speedway, Charlotte they pedicure. I kind of like the character of the worn out Texas Motor Speedway. I thought last year's race was fun. I mean, everyone's sitting there going, "This track sucks" and all that. Since the next gen car, this has been one of the better tracks I watched, and it's a shame because they got rid of both dates. But I have not been disappointed with a Texas race probably this decade. I mean, the only reason why I got disappointed back in 2020 is because we had the 18 nights of sleet down in Texas, and they ran it from they started the green flag on Sunday. They didn't get the race done until Wednesday night. That was wild, but. All right, Jake. Well, I think that's going to take us to the checker flag tonight this week. Like I said, question of the week, we open it up with for everybody. What's a caution? What is a caution? And then the second question of the week, we're going to post on Facebook tomorrow. If you're listening to us live tonight, Dale Senior's birthday, 74th his 74th birthday would have been on April 29th, which was yesterday.
Yesterday.
It would have been his 74th birthday. Dale Sr. is one of the most polarizing, one of the most special drivers that the sport has ever seen. I'm going to post it on Facebook. I'm definitely give everybody an opportunity to think about it. What was your most favorite Dale Sr. moment of all time? I think that's in to honor his birthday. Let's talk Dale Sr. this week. So, Jake, it's been a pleasure, man. It's been a pleasure today. This was a lot of fun. And for everyone listening, thanks for chiming in. Thanks for listening to us. Again, feel free to, follow us. Feel free to follow us on Facebook. And again, talk with us some NASCAR. We love it. We enjoy it. And with all that being said, enjoy your wonderful Texas race weekend. I know it's weird saying that because a lot of people hate the track, but if you're going to the race, enjoy yourself. If you're not, enjoy watching it wherever you're at. We'll talk next week about Texas as we head into Kansas. So with all that being said, have a wonderful night. Be safe, Jake. Thanks again. We'll talk next week.
Thank you, man. Have a good one.
Will you tell Mr. Dennett that Ricky Bobby is my best friend? And it's shaking big time.